We all know the story, don't we? A tragic accident, a cosmic coincidence, a bite from a radioactive something. We call it the origin story, and we treat it like the most important page in the book. We think it's the answer to the question, who are you? But what if we've been reading it all wrong? What if the origin story isn't the answer? It's just the first, loudest question. The world loves a simple narrative. It wants to pin you down with your past. You are what happened to you. It says your trauma is your brand. Your failure is your label. Your weird, messy, unconventional beginning is a diagnosis for everything you'll ever be. And we buy into it. We introduce ourselves by our wounds. We let our history write our future in permanent ink. But look at the heroes who resonate now. They don't defy their origin stories. They stop letting those stories hold them hostage. The event isn't the destination. It's the raw, jagged, painful piece of shrapnel that gets lodged in your soul. The work, the heroism, isn't in how you got it. It's in what you choose to forge from that metal. Think about it. A person shattered by loss and betrayal doesn't simply get over it. They don't wake up one day fixed. Instead, they take those shattered pieces, the grief, the rage, the profound sense of injustice, and they begin the lifelong, arduous task of reassembly. But they don't try to glue themselves back into the person they were before. That person is gone. They build something new. They fuse the pain with purpose. The grief becomes a relentless engine for protection. The rage is tempered into a focused, unwavering will. The loneliness becomes a blueprint for a symbol, something larger than oneself. The origin is the catalyst, but the character is the choice. This is where we so often get stuck. We treat our pain as a secret to be buried, or worse, as a monument we must forever kneel before. We build a shrine to our worst day and live in it. A hero shows us a third path: integration. They don't bury the shrapnel. They learn to carry its weight. They listen to what it tells them about the darkness in the world, about their own capacity for both hurt and healing, and they use that intelligence. Their greatest weaknesses, the very cracks formed in that first break, become the places where their unique strength filters through. This isn't about becoming invincible. It's about becoming intentional. Your origin story, that cocktail of awkward phases, heartbreaks, bad luck, and struggles, it gave you a specific set of lenses. Maybe they're lenses tinted with skepticism, or lenses that magnify the pain of others because you recognize it so well. Maybe they're wide-angle lenses that see the bigger systemic picture because you were failed by a system. These aren't distorted views to be corrected. They are your unique vantage point. The world doesn't need more people who see things the same way. It needs your particular, hard-won perspective. The most dangerous lie an origin story tells is the lie of inevitability. This happened to you, therefore you will become this. It tries to write the ending in the first chapter. Heroism is the defiant act of grabbing the pen. It's saying the explosion in the alley, the weight of the responsibility, the voices in my head, they are a part of my reality. But they are not my master. I will decide what they mean. I will choose their purpose. So audit your history. Take inventory of the shrapnel, not to dwell, not to worship, but to assess your materials. You have a pile of experiences that no one else has in that exact configuration. Now, what will you build with them? Will you let them rust inside you, a passive burden? Or will you heat them in the forge of your will and hammer them into a tool, a weapon, a key? Your origin doesn't define your destiny. It merely presents you with the first and most difficult choice: to be a prisoner of your past or an architect of your future. The suit, the symbol, the mantle, that comes later. First, you must do the quiet, invisible work of turning your rubble into a foundation. So you've begun to build from your foundation. You've stopped letting your history write your future. Good. Now you'll face the next, more subtle temptation, the pressure to sand down the rough edges, to present a clean, simple, consistent version of yourself to the world. To be one thing, a symbol of hope, perhaps, or of vengeance, or of unbreakable will. We are taught that power lies in singularity, in a perfect unified front. But that is a lie. A flat, one-dimensional character might be easy to understand, but they are never compelling, and they are never truly strong. Real strength, the kind that endures, that resonates, is fractal. It's complex. It's contradictory. Look at the most iconic figures. The gentle scientist who, in a flash of gamma radiation, must learn to coexist with an unstoppable engine of rage within his own body. He doesn't conquer the rage, he doesn't eliminate it. He negotiates with it. He makes it a reluctant partner. His power isn't in being one or the other, but in the terrifying, potent tension of being both. Or the brilliant billionaire who, behind a suit of technological marvel, is a haunted man operating from the shadows, driven by a childhood terror he can never outrun. The light and the dark are not just aspects of him, they are in a constant, necessary dialogue. We try to compartmentalize ourselves. We put on the work persona, the family persona, the persona for our old friends. We hide our loneliness in a crowd, our fear behind a joke, our empathy behind cynicism, because we think the contradictions cancel each other out. We think, I can't be the disciplined warrior and the grieving child. I can't be the voice of chaos and the protector of order. The world won't accept it, but the world doesn't need you to be one thing. It needs all of you. Your so-called contradictions are not flaws in your design. They are the very source of your unique capability. That deep-seated empathy you feel, the one that sometimes feels like a vulnerability, a wound open to the world's pain, isn't weakness. It's your most sensitive radar. It's what allows you to detect injustice others have become numb to. But empathy alone, untempered, can drown you. That's where your other side, your strategic, perhaps detached, analytical mind comes in. It builds the plan. It finds the solution. The empath feels the problem in the alley. The tactician devises a way to solve it. One without the other is useless. Together, they are a formidable whole. The attempt to hide these parts, to present a seamless, finished version of yourself, is exhausting. It creates a constant, low-grade civil war within you. You spend all your energy maintaining the mask, policing your own thoughts, silencing the parts that don't fit the narrative. A symbol is just a surface. A person is a universe. The lesson from these modern legends isn't to achieve some Zen-like state of internal harmony where the contradictions vanish. It's to achieve integration, to bring the warring factions to the same table and broker a peace, to let your compassion inform your resolve, and let your rage focus your mercy. Your darkness gives your light its definition. Your past failures give your current victories their weight. Stop asking which one is the real me. The answer is all of it. The quiet scholar and the fear. Some specter. The champion of justice who operates from the shadows. The chaotic trickster with a heart of unwavering gold. Your power doesn't come from choosing a side in your internal conflict, but from mobilizing your entire arsenal. The next time you feel that internal friction, the part of you that wants to tear down warring with the part that wants to build up, don't see it as a malfunction. See it as your system coming online. That tension is your power source. Harness it. The world expects a simple story. Give it a complex, living, breathing legend instead. Now you're learning to live with your contradictions, to see them not as a civil war but as a counsel. Good. But this internal work leads to the most critical, the most dangerous, and the most defining crossroads of all, the choice of action. Because a universe of potential within you means nothing until it is directed. A foundation is pointless without a structure built upon it, and the blueprints for that structure aren't found in your origin or your complexity. They are drawn, line by line, by every single choice you make. Here is the hardest truth these stories teach us. The line between a hero and a villain is not a canyon, it is a crack in the pavement, a subtle shift in weight, a single, fateful decision taken in a moment of pain. The villain you see is rarely a monster born in a vacuum. More often than not, the villain is a ghost of a possible future, a reflection, distorted perhaps, but recognizable, a reflection of what the hero could have become if they had made different choices with the same raw materials. Consider the broken man who loses everything and chooses to burn the city down, believing its chaos to be a purifying truth. Now consider the broken child who loses everything and chooses to become a shadow that prevents others from feeling that same loss. The raw material, the grief, the age, the profound sense of injustice is identical. The origin story is a tragic rhyme. What separates them is not power or circumstance, but the fundamental choice in response to the pain. One chooses to spread it, to make the world feel his hurt. The other chooses to absorb it, to become a barrier between the world and that kind of hurt. The villain is the victim who decided his victimhood was a license. The hero is the victim who decided his victimhood was a responsibility. We like to think of these roles as identities. I am a good person, he is a bad person. But that's a fairy tale. It lets us off the hook. It makes morality a fixed state, not a daily practice. The stories that unsettle us, that truly stick with us, are the ones where we see ourselves in both sides, where we understand the villain's point, even as we recoil from their methods, because that understanding is the warning. It's the story saying, this path is seductive, this justification is easy, your pain could make you this if you let it. Every day you are presented with small alleys of choice. You are handed a piece of shrapnel from your own past, a remembered slight, a lingering insecurity, a jolt of anger at an unfairness. And in that moment, you have a decision to make. Do you let that shrapnel fester, letting it poison your perception and turn your pain outward? Do you weaponize your hurt, making it everyone else's problem? That is the path of corrosion. It starts small, a bitter remark, a withheld kindness, a decision made from spite rather than strategy. Or do you take that same jagged piece of pain and do the harder thing? Do you forge it into a lens to see others suffering more clearly? Do you use the memory of your own helplessness to fuel an act of protection for someone else? That is the path of the forge. It is hotter, more difficult, and it demands you temper your own darkness with conscious will. The battle isn't between a hero on one side of the city and a villain on the other. The battle is internal, constant, and fought in quiet moments. It's the fight between the part of you that wants to say, the world hurt me, so I owe it nothing, and the part that says, the world hurt me, so I will make sure it hurts no one else that way. You are not born on one side of the line. You choose, and then you choose again. You build your character, your legacy, not in a single grand gesture, but in the thousand small choices that no one sees. The choice to listen instead of dismiss. The choice to stand firm instead of taking the easy exit. The choice to offer a hand, even when yours has been batted away before. The villain is the ghost of the path not taken, a constant reminder that your past does not dictate your actions, but your present choices will forever dictate your future. Do not fear the darkness you see in the villain. Recognize it as the shadow you must vigilantly choose to walk away from every single day. So you are choosing your path. You are learning to see the villain not as a monster, but as a warning sign on your own map. This is where most people stop. They think the work is in choosing the right alley to walk down, but the true work, the transformative work, happens long before you reach the alley. It happens in how you arm yourself for the journey. And we are often terribly, tragically mistaken about what our real weapons are. We are taught to see our arsenal in terms of strengths, intelligence, resilience, charisma, physical prowess. We catalog these, we polish them, we lead with them. And we are taught simultaneously to see our weaknesses as flaws to be hidden, shames to be locked away, broken parts that make us less than whole. We treat them like glitches in our system, errors in the code. What if we have it completely backwards? What if your greatest weakness is not a glitch, but the key to your most unique, most powerful operating system? Consider the archetype. A being of near invincible strength, a symbol of hope, is rendered utterly helpless by fragments of his home world. His ultimate vulnerability is a literal piece of where he came from. It is not a separate flaw. It is tied to the core of his identity. His connection to a lost home, his love for an adopted one. Remove the weakness, and you fundamentally change the being. You might make him invulnerable, but you would also make him irrelevant, detached. The weakness is what roots him to something beyond himself. It is the price of his connection, and thus the source of his true strength. his humanity. We must perform the same audit on ourselves that we perform on our past. But this time, we are not looking for shrapnel to forge. We are looking at the very things we wish we could excise. That sensitivity that feels like too much, the one that makes a harsh word cut deeply, that makes the suffering on the news feel personally overwhelming. We call it a liability. We say we need thicker skin. But what is that, if not an unparalleled radar for injustice? A tuning fork that vibrates to the exact frequency of pain in others? Untrained, it drowns you. But harnessed focus, it becomes your most precise instrument for knowing where you are needed. It's not a flaw, it's early detection. That anxiety that spins elaborate catastrophes in your mind, that sees danger in every shadow. We medicate it, we silence it, we hate it for keeping us awake. But strip away the panic, and what is left? A phenomenal capacity for situational awareness. A hyper-vigilant processor that runs scenarios to keep you alive. The hero doesn't eliminate that voice. They take it off the loudspeaker and put it on the tactical comms. They listen to its data, danger, high probability of ambush in that corridor, and then they use their will to decide how to act on the intel. The anxiety isn't the enemy. It's a skittish, brilliant intelligence officer you need to learn to work with. Your perceived weakness is almost always a strength operating in the wrong context, or at an unmodulated volume. Your stubbornness is unwavering principle when directed toward a just cause. Your impulsiveness is the capacity for decisive, instinctual action when deliberation would mean failure. Your detachment is strategic objectivity when emotions would cloud the mission. The flaw is the raw, undifferentiated ore. The work of a hero is not to discard it, but to refine it, to smelt the raw fear into cautious preparedness, to temper the raw empathy into compassionate action. We spend our lives building fortresses around these soft spots. We think strength is about having no exposed wiring, but that just makes you a sealed box, impenetrable and useless. True strength is found in integration, not eradication. It is about understanding your wiring so thoroughly that you know which circuits are delicate, which ones carry high voltage, and how to route power through the entire system without causing a meltdown. Your kryptonite is not your shame, it is your most critical piece of engineering data. It tells you where you are connected, what you care about enough to be hurt by, and therefore what you will fight for with everything you have. Stop trying to become a version of yourself with no weak points. That version does not exist, and if it did, it would have nothing to fight for. Instead, study your vulnerabilities with the cold, analytical eye of a strategist. Map them, understand their triggers, their parameters. Then ask the revolutionary question, what can this do? How can this sensitivity, this fear, this past trauma be repurposed? How can this piece of home, however painful, become the compass that guides me? Your power was never in being impervious. It is in knowing exactly what you are vulnerable to, and building a life, a code, a mission worthy of that vulnerability. You've begun to see your weaknesses as potential strengths. You've started to understand that your contradictions are your architecture. Now you will face the most seductive distraction of all, the desire for the symbol without the substance. The world will try to sell you the costume, the gadgets, the dramatic silhouette against the moon. It will tell you that power is in the projection, that respect is in the fear you instill or the awe you inspire. This is a glittering trap. You do not need a cape, you need a code. The cape is theater, it's for them. It's the signal you choose to broadcast. But the code is the bedrock. It's the set of non-negotiable principles that govern you when the cape is off, when the lights are out, when no one is watching, and the choice is between what is easy and what is right. The suit is a tool that can be taken, broken, lost. The code is woven into your spine. It is your internal compass when all external landmarks have vanished. Think of the iconoclast who prowls the night, a creature of shadows and fear. His true power isn't the car, or the suit, or the theatricality. Those are tools of psychological warfare, effective but ephemeral. His power is the ruthless, almost inhuman discipline of his one rule. In a world of grays, he draws one line in absolute black and will not cross it, even when crossing it would solve everything. That rule is not for the criminals, it's for himself. It is the cage he builds for the beast inside him, the daily, deliberate choice that prevents him from becoming the very thing he fights. The rule is what makes him more than just another violent man in a mask. It is what makes him a symbol instead of a symptom. Your code doesn't have to be that stark or that famous, but it must be that clear and that personal. It is your doctrine. It answers the questions you will face when the pressure is on. It's not a list of vague virtues like be good or do no harm. Those are sentiments, not strategies. A code is operational. It is your personal rule of engagement. What is your line? What is the one thing you will not do, no matter the provocation, no matter the seeming necessity? Is it a refusal to betray a confidence? A vow never to attack someone's dignity, even when have lost all dignity themselves? Is it a commitment to truth, even when a lie would be a smoother path? This is your cornerstone. This is your no-kill rule. It is the principle that limits you, and, in that limitation, defines you. From that cornerstone you build outward. How will you treat the innocent? How will you handle the guilty who show a flicker of remorse? What will you do when you face the choice between saving one person you love and saving 5 strangers? You won't have time to deliberate in the moment. Your code must already have deliberated. It is the set of algorithms you have programmed into your conscience through conscious choice, so that under fire, you have a preset protocol. It is what allows you to act with certainty when everyone else is frozen by moral ambiguity. Without a code, you are just power in motion, and power without a guiding principle is chaos. It's a weather event. It destroys and creates arbitrarily. With a code, you become a force of nature with intentionality. You become a surgeon, not a storm. This is the unglamorous work. No one commissions a statue to your personal code. It is written in quiet moments of reflection, forged in small, unseen choices, and hardened in moments of quiet failure when you broke it and had to face why. It lives in the promise you keep when it's inconvenient, in the truth you tell when a lie would be easier, in the mercy you show when vengeance is screaming in your ear. The cape, the title, the recognition. These are gifts the world may or may not give you. They are outside your control. Your code is yours alone. It is the one thing you have absolute sovereignty over. It is the promise you make to yourself about the kind of person you will be, regardless of what the world calls you or what tools you have at your disposal. It turns a reactive life into a proactive mission. So, put aside the fantasy of the uniform. Before you worry about the symbol you project, define the principles you protect. Craft your code. Write it down. Debate it with yourself. Saint. Rest tested against impossible scenarios. Let it be living, let it evolve, but let it be ironclad. Because when the moment comes, and it will, when you are tested in the dark, you won't be saved by a cape. You'll be saved by the lines you refuse to cross. Your legacy isn't written in the spotlight. It's etched in the choices you make, in the silence, governed by the law you wrote for yourself. You have your foundation. You've integrated your contradictions. You are making the choices, guided by a code that is yours alone. You are becoming something formidable. And now, you will confront the final, most persistent myth. The myth of the solitary hero. The lone figure on the gargoyle, silhouetted against the storm, carrying the weight of a city's sin on shoulders that never seem to bend. We romanticize this image. We equate suffering in silence with strength. We believe that to be truly noble, we must be truly alone, that to accept help is to admit a flaw in our design. This is not strength. It is a pathology. It is the echo of a child who decided, in one terrible moment, that they could only ever rely on themselves. And while that decision may forge a will of iron, it forges a world of isolation. The solo hero is a ghost story we tell ourselves, a compelling tragedy, but a blueprint for burnout, for distortion, and ultimately, for failure. Look at the stories that endure. The mightiest warrior is nothing without the wisdom of the mentor who sees the king behind the exile. The brilliant tactician is amplified by the heart and courage of the team that follows not out of fear, but out of shared belief. The most iconic symbol in the sky is not a threat delivered by one, it is a call answered by many. Even the most shadowed vigilante, the archetype of solitude, is defined by his network. The ally who patches his wounds and speaks truth to his obsessions. The steadfast guardian of the city's soul, who provides a moral anchor. The voice in the ear that offers not just data, but perspective. He may stand alone on the roof, but he is only able to stand because of the people who ensure the ground beneath him doesn't collapse. Your legacy will not be a statue. Stone is cold, mute, and solitary. Your legacy will be a network. It will be the lives you strengthened, the people you empowered, the allies you trusted, and the successors you prepared. The myth tells you to build an empire of one. The truth teaches you to build a league. This is not about delegation, it is about completion. You are not a perfect circle. You are a piece of jagged shrapnel with unique edges. Your work is to find the other pieces whose shapes complement your own. The optimist to your pessimist, the heart to your head, the brute force to your delicate touch, the person who can walk in the sunlight while you operate in the shadows. They are not your sidekicks. They are your counterweights. They prevent you from spinning off your axis. They are the ones who will tell you when your code is becoming a cage, when your mission is tipping into a vendetta, when you are becoming the very ghost you are hunting. Found family is not a consolation prize. It is your most strategic asset. It is your safe house. It is your early warning system. It is your source of intelligence that no surveillance network can provide. Intelligence on the human heart. These are the people for whom you are not a symbol, but a person. And in reminding you of your personhood, they save you from the cliff edge of your own legend. The mission is too vast, the night is too long, and the weight is too great for one set of shoulders. Trying to carry it all alone isn't bravery, it is a slow form of surrender. It is choosing to lose a war of attrition against your own humanity. True strength is not in the refusal of help, but in the discernment of whom to trust, and the courage to be vulnerable enough to extend that trust. It is in building your watchtower, not as a solitary citadel, but as a headquarters for a shared vision. So look around you. Who are your founders? Who is the voice on your comms? Who is the guardian of your soul? Who sees the cracks in your armor and doesn't exploit them but helps you seal them? Invest in those people. Listen to them. Empower them. Let them save you again and again from the prison of your own solitude. The final lesson is this. You are not a monument to be admired from a distance. You are a node in a living network. Your strength is not just in what you can withstand, but in what you can connect. Build your league. Strengthen your city from within. For when the true storm comes, and it always comes, it will not be the solitary pillar that stands. It will be the interconnected web, flexible, resilient, and unbreakable that holds the entire world together. Your story is not yours alone to write. It is a collaborative, ongoing epic, and the most heroic thing you can do is make sure you are not the only author.